Good morning and welcome to the Raben Report. I'm your host, Elliot Raben, so get ready to get triggered. Good morning and welcome to the Raben Report. I'm your host, Elliot Raben, as you might have heard in our intro. And with me is part of our panel, Marshall and Daniel. Adam is on his way. How are you guys?
Good.
Yeah, doing well. Can't complain.
Good to hear. So Adam will come in a bit, hopefully, and we'll, I guess, let him in once he comes here. Let's get right to it with our recap of the week. But to begin, as per Spirit Live rules and regulations, all opinions expressed on the show are not those of Ryerson or Ryerson faculty and are only those of the individual commentators. Viewer discretion is advised. So our first story for the recap of the week is that the Ontario PC Party has been having some problems. What do you guys make of that? What's going to happen with the Ontario PC Party come the next election?
Well, I mean, for those who aren't aware, if there is such a person, basically Patrick Brown has been accused of sexual impropriety, some situations involving younger women and alcohol, and the court of public opinion has already run its course, judge, jury, and executioner, the party, and I mean, he's out. He resigned. I mean, essentially was forced into resignation, not that he was coerced or anything, but that he had no other option. It was very bad optics for the party, whether there's merit to the allegations or not, and it's unfortunate that the party has such a short period of time in which to make preparations for the election. And, of course, Rick Dykstra, party president, similar allegations, resigned as well. Now, it's important to keep in mind, someone want to let Adam in?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going to interject about it, too. So, did you actually like Patrick Brown, though? Like, for his policies and this stuff?
No. I had my problems with the PC Party and with the People's Guarantee. Now, there certainly were elements of the People's Guarantee, and the People's Guarantee being the platform, the name of the platform of which Patrick Brown was running on. I liked the 75% refund on childcare expenses. Thought that was fantastic. I liked the mental health initiatives. I liked the community center initiatives. All good stuff. I just I didn't think that he had the leadership skills
he seemed
necessarily.
Kind of like robot-y, I guess. I don't know. Yeah,
very Hillary Clinton-esque.
Okay, yeah. I just think it couldn't have come at an even worse time. Like, people already hate Ontario government just because Kathleen Wynne is in power and stuff, and just the fact that it just adds more fuel to the fire, and then it's going to be interesting what's going to happen come election time and seeing, realistically, this is, if I were the NDP, I would just be taking this to my advantage and just putting both of those parties on blast. Let's find a way to get the most votes and to actually secure, a decent majority there. It's, a very feasible goal for them.
Yeah, and, it's funny, I ended our last episode with, Patrick Brown will be our premier. And obviously that's not going to happen. Leadership race coming up. Vic Fideli is the interim leader, who I've loved.
I think
Vic Fideli for a long
he
time.
said no. He's out
not
too.
Contesting.
Yeah.
He's not.
Yeah,
contesting.
No, he's.
Well, we
he's,
have not Rob Ford, but Doug Ford.
Doug Ford. Yeah. So
Dougie.
I was gonna ask. Now that Doug Ford's running, does he have a chance? Is he gonna win?
Yeah,
Does he
why
have
not?
competition? Is he gonna become the next premier?
I don't see him taking the PC Party to an election, though I do think he does have a chance.
Yeah, I mean, what people have to keep in mind is that the immigrant community of Toronto, which is a sizable portion, loves Doug Ford, or the Fords in general. And I mean, Toronto is obviously a huge part of the voter base for the Ontario provincial elections, and that's something to keep in mind. When the leadership election comes around, the immigrants are likely going to be voting in favor of Doug Ford. And well, I mean, it depends who runs. We don't know who else is running against him.
Right.
But he has huge immigrant support.
Fair enough. So let's move on to our next story, which is Trump's State of the Union. Now, I personally didn't get a chance to watch it.
I didn't watch it either.
I watched it.
But I was working...
I watched it. What was the Kennedy's response with that guy?
Kennedy.
I didn't see that.
I'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get it. Yeah, let's talk about that after.
Bernie also had a response.
I didn't
Everybody
really know
had
what
a
was going on
response.
with the response thing. I only heard about it right before the actual
the
address.
Kennedy guy responses?
Yeah.
Joe
Well, I mean-
Kennedy? No, not true. What is his name?
Yeah, Joe Kennedy.
Joe Kennedy.
I was watching NBC, and they're talking about how this is the second time there's ever going to be a response to the State of the Union, or maybe not second, but some
And by
low number.
response, do you mean like a formal response?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure what was going on with that. I wasn't sure what they meant by response, but
Okay, fair
maybe
I
enough.
guess
somebody
it's
else
just
does.
a blue press conference.
Yeah.
then,
Okay.
Right.
I watched little clips here and there of his State of the Union. It actually got, in the initial poll right after it was over, it actually got 45% support from the Democrats, which I was kind of surprised by. I didn't actually watch it, so I can't imagine it.
It was good. It was good Trump.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it like New York primary Trump?
Um,
When he came out right after the primary and he was like very calm and collected.
very calm and collected, very, very kind-hearted, seeming at least. Very not focused on himself.
Okay.
Very
I
focused
find that,
on...
even I find that hard to believe.
You can watch it. You can watch it. He spent the entire time talking about the great people. He honored a lot of people. He honored this 9-year-old boy who put flags on soldiers' graves. He honored this firefighter who...
The North Korean soldier.
I didn't
That
actually...
escaped? From
Yeah.
I
He
didn't
brought
hear
that
mention
North
that,
Korean
but-
soldier that escaped to the State of the Union.
And I had no idea. And yeah, he focused a lot on other people, which was good.
The main thing I saw was just that he was like stating how black employment is at an all-time high now.
It's nothing to do with him, though.
I'm just saying
Yeah,
that
it
he
is.
addressed
Yeah.
It does have to do with the State of the Union.
Yeah,
right.
it does.
Yeah, but like, he's like just saying like, oh, I think he's
Yeah.
just bringing it up for
Yeah,
brownie
no,
points.
he's like, hey guys, check out this.
I think it is relevant. Like he is talking about the state of
I know
the
he
union.
he brought that up in response to what Jay-Z said.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that doesn't necessarily have to do
It didn't have
completely with
anything to
him.
do with him. It started going up in 2010
Yeah.
and has been going up ever since. But I'm wondering, did he end off saying that the State of the Union is strong?
I didn't get to the end.
Okay. Because there's only ever been one president that has said the State of the Union is not strong. So I was wondering.
Who
if-
was that? Was that
Gerald Ford?
Ford, yeah.
That was Ford.
Damn.
So
And I think what I was hearing was that there's been 4 presidents who did not end with the State of the Union is strong.
Oh,
And
okay.
they might not have said the State of the Union is
It's
not
strong, but
but
they actually didn't end.
yeah,
with,
I think it
that.
was. I can't even, can't remember now, but
Did you guys? What you saw? Like, I think I saw Bernie Sanders like clapping too. Like,
All of the progressive
They kinda were
Democrats.
forced to, right?
Yeah. Like Cory Booker had this face the whole time.
oh yeah, he was making faces
Yeah.
because he was right up front.
Yeah,
basically.
he was making faces. Yeah. So the whole thing with the Jason Kennedy response, I'm like, I feel bad almost for
Joe Kennedy.
Joe Kennedy,
Kennedy, yeah.
sorry. I feel bad also almost for the Democrats that every time there is a presence in their party that is like minorly stronger than all the other senators, they're like, oh, he could be the new face of the Democrat Party. He can take us in 2020. The guy's a ginger, for one.
Who?
The Joe
yeah.
Kennedy.
Yeah.
I have
You really hate gingers, eh? I think this is the second time you've.
I have nothing personally against gingers. A lot of other people have something
true.
against
That's true.
gingers. So I don't see that happening for him. And also, just
Because
because
he's a biological freak. Like that's
that's
a
not what
freak
I'm
of nature.
saying. That's not what I'm saying. Fake news. No, but people just have this not trustworthy perception of gingers, and I just don't see it happening.
I feel that. I feel it was more because like just because of the name like,
Yeah.
attached to him. Like
He's
whoa!
like Ted Kennedy's nephew.
Oh, is he?
Or great nephew or something.
Oh, okay. Now this guy is coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like a big advocate for trans rights,
Yeah, now I'm
immigrant
remembering.
rights. He supports DACA, CHIP.
I just didn't take him seriously when he
Obamacare.
was like giving his response to the State of the Union.
He's very young.
Yeah,
He's
I
very
don't
young.
think that's like that like shies me away from him, like as a important figure in
Yeah.
politics, but more just like the way he was talking. Like he's just so. I feel he's just like pandering to the audience too. Like literally every sentence he said, like they got claps and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I feel like they just did that to be nice. Like I
Yeah.
get that because they
Yeah.
agree with him, but it was just. It was just nah. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Also, for the record, I have nothing against gingers. Didn't mean to offend any gingers out there. Just it was the first thing that came to my head when I saw his face. So
You heard it here first. He doesn't like gingers. Moving on. I wanted to talk about the funny story Toronto cops that ate pot edibles. But considering what today is, it's Bell Let's Talk Day, I think we should mention that as well. I think it's a great initiative that Bell does. I think it's grown immensely considering, and I'm going to say this, but Celine Dion posted on Facebook about this, and considering she's in the U.S., it means it's reached pretty far, and considering
she's Canadian at heart, Elliot.
Yeah.
I know. I'm happy about that. But anyway, I think it's a very good initiative. It really opens up the conversation. And what do you guys think about it?
Look, I'm not really one to support the sort of corporatization, if that's a word, of mental health issues, but it does raise a lot of money and it gets people talking, though I would like it to continue for more than one day a year or one day this month. And sort of we're in this time now that we are talking a lot about it a little more. So I think as the years go on, this will not sort of be this token day for mental health anymore. It'll be this sort of commemoration.
Well,
in a way.
I think isn't there a mental health awareness month already?
I don't know if that's like a thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's probably
Federalism.
something that Ryerson
I
is
think-
implementing.
I think Ryerson
I remember
Probably.
seeing that about Ryerson.
I
But
definitely think. Also, shout out the Wellness Center opens February 5th.
Hey.
We're going to run a bunch of programs and different things like that. But I'll get into that later if we have time.
That's
But yeah,
awesome. So,
Wellness
yeah.
Center February 5th.
Yeah, all hail our benevolent corporate overlords. It's nice. It's a nice thing to do. It's obviously benefits Bell, but I don't fault them for doing something that benefits them when it's also benefiting people who are struggling with mental illness, for example. And I think that mental health and mental illness initiatives are something that's very, very important. And I like to see stuff like this, despite the overwhelmingly corporate nature of it. We've got two comments about Joe Kennedy. Our friend Sam says sloppy Joe Kennedy, and our friend Jaquan says Joe Kennedy is just a basic liberal robot.
yeah, he did it. There, I think that's the perfect way to describe him too. He's because I remember when he was I watched a decent 3 minutes. 'Cause I think I saw
Nice.
it. I saw it on a Facebook group or something.
It was an AJ Plus video.
Yeah.
You might have seen that.
The Joe Kennedy thing?
Yeah.
It was like a full 20-minute video, like his actual
Oh,
thing.
okay.
I only watched the beginning part, but he's like, he's like, Russia hacked our election, stuff like that. Like, he just literally all like the key buzzwords that like Hillary Clinton was saying during her campaign is like that's all that was dinging like in my head when he was talking. So, but
Fun fact about a Kennedy: he's related to the former president, right? Kinda. Okay.
Kinda.
Well, fun fact about the former president Kennedy: his son. So my professor actually used to shoot videos with him, and then they got followed by CIA all the time, and it was just cool to know that my prof actually
That's actually
worked with
sick.
him, and he was also Pierre Elliott Trudeau's photographer.
oh wow.
Oh, that's
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so shout out to Rick Grunberg. But yeah, so great discussion. Let's move on to our main story, which is the U.S. government shutdown. So this past weekend, the U.S. government officially shut down from Saturday at midnight to Monday evening after the House did not approve a federal spending budget bill by the deadline, which was midnight, 11:59 p.m. Friday, forcing the government from continuing to work. Now, the U.S. has had longer shutdowns in the past, one that actually lasted 16 days back in 2013. Some blame the Republicans for being stubborn, while others blame the Democrats for creating unrealistic demands. Today on the show, we talk the truth behind the shutdown and what's next for the United States government. Before we start, remember we are live on Facebook, so you can comment on our feed to have your thoughts read live on air. So without further ado, let's begin. First question. What were the main issues holding the Republicans from signing the bill?
So, from what I understand, the Democrats wanted a guaranteed funding for the DACA Act or Dreamer Act, which is that the children of illegal immigrants would be guaranteed a path to citizenship, should they be in university, I believe. And they wanted funding for the CHIP program, which is the Children's Health Insurance Program. And the Republicans were like, yeah, okay, fine, but we want the guaranteed funding for a border wall. And the Democrats were like, I don't think so. And then it was this sort of spat back and forth, and then they just didn't agree on a thing. And then they just decided, okay, we'll just delay this conversation and reopen the government.
Yeah, and the government's looking to shut down again, and I'm not sure if anyone knows what the date of the expected shutdown is.
No, I
Because it was
don't
only a
have it.
short-term resolution, the budget they passed.
Like probably in the next month then, or
So in February.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I want to just quickly give a very quick rundown on what the shutdown is, because I know I had a friend call me while I was out a couple days ago just to ask me to explain it, and I realized that a lot of people don't quite get the purpose of the shutdown. So basically, the government has to pass a budget, or else they can't spend any money. And the government has to spend money to be able to do anything, right? Everything costs money. So without the budget being signed, going through the House, because the budget's it's a law, right? They can't do anything, which means that the government can't pay its workers, so nobody goes to work, so it shuts down.
And for our viewers, who drafts the budget?
The budget is drafted by the Congressional Budget Commission.
The budgeting people.
yeah, the budget will balance itself.
Yes.
100%.
I believe it's just like any other form of legislation. It's introduced
Yeah, that makes more sense.
by a committee within Congress, within the House of Representatives, typically. Now, I could be wrong on that, but I believe that's how it works. And so, anyway, main issues, as Adam said, CHIP, DACA. Most people primarily focused on DACA, as well as the Republicans want funding for border security and a certain amount of that to go towards a wall or a physical barrier of some kind, as well as an end to chain migration and
Which is?
Chain migration is a system that allows illegal immigrants who get citizenship to sponsor their relatives.
Oh, like family reunification.
Yeah, that's the other term for it. And so, and the other one was increased deportations of illegal immigrants who commit crimes. They wanted to change the necessary requirements. Criteria, that's the word. Criteria for deportation. And
what are your thoughts on criminals or people who are or in the U.S. illegally committing crimes? Should they be deported? And where's the line? Because even
Is
here,
that a question? Is that an actual question?
well, here's the thing. Because in Canada, Trudeau has said that we're going to reintegrate ISIS fighters into Canada. So I'm wondering, like, is that the same thing that's going to happen in the United States, or is that?
Well, I disagree with both. I don't think they're necessarily the same thing, because the ISIS fighters are Canadian ISIS fighters, and now that's not me endorsing it. I still don't think we should be bringing them back at all.
Still the same concept, though, right? Like crimes are committed.
Yeah. Okay. So similar idea. Well, I mean, I think
actually no. I would put it in way more seriousness here in Canada, because they think about it. What are the most heinous crimes that we have in our society? We have like first-degree murder, and then we have acts of terrorism, acts of treason, and stuff like that. So maybe someone who's like a dreamer that's like selling drugs or killing some somebody, right? Like that's pretty serious. But I feel like we can't not highlight the seriousness of these ISIS fighters coming back to Canada who are Canadian. Like there must be something that has to be done to them. We can't let them just chill and rehabilitate, and how do we expect that to even happen? We think that's a feasible solution then?
No, that's true. And though I think that might be a discussion for another time.
Yeah.
But,
No.
great points.
Yeah. For me, I think that. Okay, so the way that the Republican Party and the Trump voter base have interpreted crimes committed by illegal immigrants is sort of this this poster child for deportations, which I don't necessarily agree with. I do think that the crimes are still heinous and whatever they commit and whatnot, but for me it will become this sort of slippery slope. Like if we start deporting illegal immigrants that, or not we, the United States. If the United States starts deporting illegal immigrants that commit crimes, what about people with dual citizenship? What about people that had a former citizenship and renounced it?
I thought
Well,
the
isn't
whole
that
point about the
different,
United
though?
States though is you renounce your previous citizenship.
No,
American citizens can't have dual
They can.
citizenship.
They can.
They
It's-
can.
yeah.
It's tough.
Of course they can.
It's tough to
Yeah.
get it,
Oh,
but they can.
never mind.
Yeah.
I thought because it's so easy here in Canada to do
Yeah.
that. So.
Mhm.
No, but where does it end for me?
But would you consider having dual citizenship, one to the U.S. and one to another country, the same thing as not having a citizenship at all, though?
Not me.
What
but
I
I'm
would say
thinking-
is simply that people with dual citizenship have a right to be in both countries, whereas people who are legal immigrants do not have a right to be there. And so if they commit crime, and I mean, they already have broken federal law just by being in the country, then they should be deported.
Hot take.
But I also realize that it's very impractical to simply deport everybody who's in the States illegally. If, somebody commits a crime and they get arrested for it and they run their name and they find out they're not a citizen, I think it makes a lot of sense to just send them back.
I don't think so personally. And that's not me, not caring about crimes. I think that they should be tried and charged and been put in jail and everything like that. But I don't think their status in the United States should be hung over their head. Sometimes these illegal immigrants, again, they came at like 2 years old and lived their whole life in
But see, here's the thing though. I
in
feel
the
like.
States.
Well, actually, no. Continue what you say. I'm gonna collect my thoughts. Go ahead.
So I think that I think it needs to go very case by case basis. That's what I think personally.
But do you think there should be a point where it's, you're, like Marshall said, you're breaking the law by being there, and as much, yes, you came at 2 years old, and that's where the whole DACA argument comes from. But at the same time, if you're, an adult man or woman or whatever, and you come illegally, shouldn't there be consequences? Like if you're given a fair trial, doesn't that waste, tax dollars on going to court and all that, due process, right? That wastes taxpayers' money, I feel at least. But what are your thoughts?
I don't know. I never saw justice as a waste of taxpayers' money. Like if you want to commit a crime, you should be given the right to a fair trial, whether citizen or non-citizen. That's my opinion. But again, my own opinions of citizenship and nationalism are very fluid. I wouldn't even. I think that even me calling them illegal immigrants is a little harsh. From my point of view, they are illegal immigrants, but I don't think that they should be demonized and treated the way that they are. They are the backbone of America in many, many ways. They do a lot of the jobs that national American citizens don't want to do for a fraction of the price. So I think that without them, the American sort of society would crumble almost. So
it's a tough position.
it's a very tough position, and I know we're specifically talking about illegal immigrants that commit crimes. So I don't think they should be deported, but I do think they should be tried, charged, put in jail.
Well, see, I'll agree with you on that aspect where, like, if, let's say, an illegal immigrant were to commit a crime, like, yeah, they should deserve a fair trial regardless of their citizenship or not. I can, attest to that. But, like, if then, like, what are we going to do about, so, like, I think like, if we just have like a proposing like a vetting system like kind of before how Trump was like thinking about with the Muslim ban, quote unquote, it would be as long as you do a vetting system and see that these people are being productive members of society, and obviously you wouldn't
but
want to.
that's
like,
not happening.
But isn't the
now.
vetting system supposed to be, for people to be legal? That's the whole point of
Well, what
the
I'm
vetting
saying is they're
system.
trying to figure out a solution to
Yeah.
a problem, right? If
So I don't want to speak for you, but what
Yeah.
I think you might be getting at is, dealing with each one on a case-by-case basis,
yeah, that
like
is
Adam said.
yeah.
Because I realize, like, somebody came at 2 years old, they don't really have, like, a family
that's their home,
back
it's
in
their home.
Mexico or wherever. And they commit a crime, and, if you were to deport them, where would you deport them to? You can't just,
Yeah.
to Mexico. Mexico's a big country. And so it does, I agree, it has to be looked at a case-by-case basis, which is why I agree with changing the criteria and not making it a blanket
Yeah.
deport illegal immigrants who commit crimes.
Because everything's going to be done on a case-by-case basis in one way or another.
Yeah, because,
So-
Buddy comes from Mexico, and he comes 6 months ago and kills somebody. and he's 26 years old, then send him back. Absolutely, no question. But, somebody's been around since they were a baby and they get caught selling pot and, they don't really have a home in Mexico, then it's really just impractical to send them back, right?
Yeah, I would leave it up to courts to decide.
But I do think that there should be the vessel to be able to deport illegal immigrants who
It
commit
just shows
crimes,
how
but-
flawed the United States immigration system is. Then, because does Canada still use the merit system? Then,
Yep.
for
We have a much
We've been
stricter
using-
system than
we've
the-
been
Yeah,
using
my
the
parents
merit
got here
system.
on the point system.
my dad as well. Like so,
Yeah.
but like, that's the thing though. Like, it just shows like the problem that America needs to reform their immigration
Oh
policies.
no, I do
so-
think they need to
Oh, yeah.
reform.
Totally agree.
Which ways they should reform is a matter of opinion. But yeah, no, but if you want to move on.
Yeah. So I was about to say then, now that we've kind of discussed the reasons for the shutdown, and we'll definitely, hopefully, have an episode on immigration and on DACA as well. But a lot of people are putting the blame for this shutdown on Trump. So how does this reflect on his presidency? Right?
I think it's very transparent of his presidency. Trump is the man of the deal. He won't do something unless he gets something out of it.
Right.
The sort of centerpiece of his campaign was the wall. Mexico's going to pay for the wall. So he's going to try and weasel that wall into his policy any way he can. So he sees that the Democrats really want something, because if the Democrats get DACA, then they've got the 2018 midterms. If not the midterms, then 2020.
Challenge for some seats.
Yeah. So if the Democrats get DACA and CHIP, they're golden. Like they're good. So Trump sees that. He's not stupid. He might be crazy, but he's not stupid.
So
So
we have a couple responses that I'll read quickly. Sam says Trump has all the leverage. DACA will expire in March anyway. All he has to do is wait for the Dems to cave on the wall and chain migration, which they won't. They lose face in every outcome, which will make the midterms favorable for Republicans. And Jake Wan again says DACA tries to make the case that children should not and do not face the consequences of crimes committed by their parents. Jake Wan says Rand Paul has a fair, bipartisan, and sympathetic method to dealing with the Dreamers. I'm not familiar with that. If you want to give us a little summary of their Jake
I
Wan,
have no idea.
And then Sam again says that kind of liberal feely good no policy inaction led to the problems of DACA now. Either you enforce the damn law or not. America got to the moon with no illegal immigrants. What are you talking about? Falling apart. LOL.
Wow.
I think that
That's a hot take there, guys. That's a hot
producing produce and dish staff for restaurants and many of the sort of menial jobs of our society has absolutely nothing to do with going to the moon. So correlation doesn't equal causation in any way whatsoever.
I feel
Now,
like
what I would say is that I don't know if national Americans do not want the jobs that the illegal immigrants are.
I really don't
are
think they
getting.
do.
They don't.
It's,
I really
it's-
don't think they
I would
do.
say it's that employers don't want to hire the Americans because
they would pay them a fair wage.
the labor from the illegal immigrants is cheaper, and it's
It's
malevolent,
just taking
right?
advantage of them,
It's
isn't
taking
it?
advantage
yeah,
of
it
them.
just
and I don't-
shows how the U.S. can exploit.
But even with that low wage, they're
marginalized
still
communities.
making so much more than they would be making back in their country of
and
origin.
Sam comes in, and this is something I actually wanted to bring up myself. Sam says, "I think I heard the same argument for slavery," and he is right. There was a time when people thought, what are we going to do? The Americans can't do these cotton picking jobs. We need slaves. It's the right thing to do. And then the cotton gin was invented, and I think that it's important to realize that there's an alternative, right? And I would say that there are a lot of struggling working class people in America, inner city people in America who would do well to have those jobs. And I don't think that there's any excuse for putting foreigners before your own citizens.
In response to that, and I'm not trying to be cheeky in any way, but if you're trying to equate slavery with the labor of illegal immigrants, then on some level, morally, I would agree. I do think that they're getting paid slave wages, and I don't think that's just.
No, I don't think it's just either.
So that's all I'll really say about that. I don't want to respond in a further way.
But it's important to hear what everybody says, and that's what the good part is about.
That's
about
why
this.
like I'm hearing this out. But
Yeah.
in another way, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Somebody else wants.
And so, I mean, how I would respond to that is I would say I would agree it's unjust, and if there was a way to ensure that illegal immigrants were being paid a fair wage, the minimum wage, then I think that would be fantastic. Unfortunately, that's not something
not realistic.
And
you
what
can
is
do.
the solution?
And
It's a hard question, but what is the solution?
what is the solution? I think that as long as there are illegal immigrants in the U.S., they will be paid significantly less than an American citizen would be paid. And if, one thing that I've heard floated around by, I'm not sure if Trump was actually floating this around or if the GOP in general, but tougher legislation on making sure that employees are employing citizens. And I think that's a possible option there.
Yeah, because that's what like a lot of like companies and restaurants and businesses will do. They'll notice that like people like they can like they're able to exploit people like that just because they don't have any citizenship, and then actually it creates a cycle where it's like I can pay you a shitty amount of money. And there's nothing you can do about it because if you do say something about it,
I'll deport
guess
you.
who I'm going to
exactly.
call? Like,
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, it's
And
it's
there have
ridiculous
been,
how they
there
treat
have been
people
a
like
lot
that.
of documentaries about it. Like I don't know if you guys have watched Food Inc.
Oh, yeah.
Heard of it.
They show that a lot of illegal immigrants are responsible for the chicken coups or coops. I don't know.
Coops, yeah.
They're
Watch it there.
the chicken coups. The chickens are taking
Watch
over.
it, Leon Trotsky. Okay.
They're responsible for the chicken coops, and what happens is when they complain about the sanitary standards in these chicken coops,
Right.
ICE comes in the middle of the night, takes them out, brings new ones in. So I think that there's a much bigger problem there.
And
yeah.
sorry, Rebecca brings up a good point here. Many of those menial jobs done by illegals will soon be automated, so you don't need the illegals. You either have a country or you don't. Why is America obligated to keep people in their country who come illegally? And the automation thing is a good point.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that.
That's true.
And I mean, I would agree with the statement at large entirely, but the automation thing, I wonder what will happen when automation becomes the norm and becomes just standard across the board with respect to
Like the
illegal
automated
immigration.
dishwashers, automated like.
Well, I mean, we've had automated dishwashers for a while now.
No, what I'm saying is like
I know what you mean.
like, I don't know, on a massive industrial scale.
Yeah.
Like, what's a dishwasher? I've never used those. I just think of my hands.
And so, in regards to Trump, what was the question again? I just want
Yeah,
to make sure I.
If we blaming Trump, I think for the people are blaming Trump for the shutdown. That was the question.
Yeah. And so we have a comment from Justin Nair, if you want to read that, Marshall. Because he
Justin-
actually mentioned this topic, so thank you for suggesting it.
Justin says, talk about Trump not getting back into office for 2020.
I think that
And then he also said, another
no.
one down below, he said, you can employ whoever does a better job. Doesn't matter if you're a citizen or not. If we have illegals coming in and doing a better job than lazy-ass Americans, why not give them a goddamn visa? How do you respond to that?
I'd agree with that, but I think the bigger conversation is the wages are so low that it doesn't matter if you're doing a good job or not because you're being paid such a
And minimum
small
wage
amount.
already there is like
There is no
significantly
federally
lower.
So-
there is no federally mandated minimum wage.
Yes, it's all state. It's all
Yeah,
run by
it's
the
all by
states.
I
Yeah.
believe there is a federal one.
It's like
Yeah, it's
725,
725, yeah.
which is
but
ridiculous.
Most states have it quite a bit higher.
Yeah.
And so what I would say to that is that illegal immigrants will always do a better job in the most technical sense because they can work for significantly less. They can work longer hours, and that
They're more efficient at the job.
I mean they by
Well, they
default
have to.
they by default
Yeah.
they're more productive.
Yeah.
They have to be.
And so really, are they doing a better job because Americans are lazy? No, they're doing a better job because their
Out of
employers
necessity.
are taking advantage of them. It's like how
It's
we
also-
talk about how China is more more productive than us. They build a railroad in like an hour. That's an exaggeration, but
You're not far off.
I was watching a video the other day, and did you see that? Yeah, that was
the
crazy.
train that would go lay a thing, drive on it, lay a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The same one.
What?
Yeah, it's insane. But what you got to realize is that it's not because the Chinese are, better at building railroads than us. Well,
We need a.
Easy there,
Okay,
Marshall.
but the
Oh my god.
you got to realize that their workers are a lot more expendable because the government doesn't care about them. They don't have the labor laws we have. They'll work them to death, literally. They'll work them for 16 hours at a time, 20 hours at a time sometimes, for such low wages. They can just bring Buddy off the street, Hey, you want to help build this railroad? And just keep going until he needs to be replaced. And, I'd say it's the same logic with illegal immigrants, is that the lack of labor laws makes it seem like they're more productive, and they are, technically, but it's not because Americans are lazy or anything.
Do you think we could use like those like temporary worker visas as a method to create a solution?
Well, that's a whole other thing with
'Cause
NAFTA.
like,
if NAFTA falls apart, then
Yeah.
that kind of goes to
shit
to
too,
shit
yeah.
in a similar sense. But in regards to his name's Justin.
Yeah.
In regards to Justin's comment on Trump not being elected in 2020, I think the chances as of now, the only thing stopping him from getting into office now is if the Democrats find a good leader.
And
He's
you
got
don't necessarily support Trump, right?
No, I don't.
Exactly.
I don't.
So it's an interesting
Yeah,
position.
if the Democrats find a good leader, he's got all the cards against him at this point.
Mm-hmm.
If the Democrats play their cards right, he's got almost every single card against him. So if they find a strong leader that can relate to the Democratic voter base, then they will win in 2020. But
That's tough though, because like from everyone that you were seeing so far,
awful.
like Bernie Sanders is too old.
He-
Joe
he-
Biden just I don't
Joe
know,
Biden's
well,
too old.
Yeah,
and
he's too old
Bernie
too. Right?
Sanders
Too
is
creepy
old.
as well. I mean,
Yeah,
and
I
that's
saw
the
that
big
too.
thing.
Creepy Uncle Joe.
Yeah, I saw that
He
too.
loses the progressive.
No. The thing about Joe Biden is that he's very progressive on a lot of different issues, like sexual assault and different things like that. So he's if they do their research, Joe Biden would be a progressive guy. But one, he's very old.
Yeah.
He's got that creepy Uncle Joe vibe. Two, Bernie Sanders is too old. Three, The Rock. Are you kidding me? Four, Oprah. Are you kidding me? Now we've got Joe Kennedy. You heard what I had to say about him. And then if you want to even consider Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer,
God.
it's game over
There's-
for the Democrats.
And now I always forget her name. I've brought her up to you before. The senator from Hawaii, Tulsa. No, not Tulsa.
that's in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Well, it's this. She's an Indian Hawaiian woman, and she's got an Indian or a Hawaiian name. I can't remember. Sorry.
I'll look it up.
But I need to say my phone just dropped down to like 2%, so somebody
can go
else
check it,
can
yeah.
read the
I'll go
comments.
on
If,
Yeah.
Anyway, you know what? She's my favorite Democratic possible presidential candidate. And-
Dylan actually said, you seem to be forgetting Kanye and Waka Flocka.
Hey,
Oh,
yes.
my bad. Sorry.
Of course. Very
Again,
important.
are you
Sorry,
kidding
Dylan.
me?
Dylan. I don't know why I said Daniel. Did I say Daniel?
what
No,
about
you said
Kanye
Dylan.
West? Oh
Okay.
no, is that?
I have decided.
Did he say Kanye? No, who did he say?
He said Kanye and Waka Flocka.
Oh, Kanye. Hey.
Tulsi Gabbard.
Oh, Tulsi Gabbard, yeah.
Tulsi Gabbard.
And you know what? As far as Democratic potential presidential candidates go, she's my favorite. And I think she stands the best chance against Trump. She's populist to a
So-
degree, which is
If
what.
Trump were smart, he'd run as a Democrat for the next term.
No, then the Democrats would vote Republican.
Well,
So,
might be-
I want to,
It's like, what are they gonna do? Like, oh,
because we are running out of time, I want to just get back on track. In terms of the government shutdown, what will
Yes,
make
the government shutdown?
both sides come to terms with each other and just sign the damn bill, avoid another government shutdown?
I
What-
say nothing because right now the Democrats, if the Democrats cave in any way to Trump's security measures, they've lost the midterms and they've lost 2020 because the American population will see that they have failed as sort of the voice in the House and the Senate. I don't see anything happening. What I do think might work is if they can sort of get under Trump's nose and agree to some very, very, very minor security increase and play it as this sort of big thing, and then Trump agrees to DACA and SHIP, then something will work. Like if, I don't know, they add more staff to border security, and then they're like, this is what's going to save whatever, whatever, whatever. And then in 6 months or whenever the midterm elections is, they remove the legislation. So it's only a very temporary thing.
So my response, combined response to that and to what Justin said, I think that it's a no-win for the Democrats here unless Trump capitulates, which he might. He's unpredictable. And so what we've got here is a situation where DACA is going to expire in March. That looks bad for the Democrats. The Republican voter base does not care too much about that. Or DACA is made, a deal was made, and the wall gets funding, chain migration is ended, immigration legislation is put in place all over the board. And that looks good for Trump and the Republicans, and looks bad for the Democrats because a lot of their voter base doesn't like that, right? And so I would say that if Trump, all he has to do is really sit back. And I mean, is that good? Do I want him sitting back? No, but all he has to do to, make things look good for himself is sit back and let DACA expire or let the Democrats agree to the deal.
I feel like if Trump were the smart thing for Trump to do right now after the shutdown when they start again, whatever, but would be for him to let them maybe have CHIP and then compromise on DACA. So we'll keep most of the Dreamers but deport the criminals. That would be I think maybe a solution that could favor both parties. And then with the wall, because Democrats, they can't let that happen. Let the actual wall build, but allowing a lot more stricter border security, and I think would be a reasonable solution to bring back government and to avoid another shutdown.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, well, I don't know if you want to ask another question.
Yeah, I was going to ask another question unless you wanted to say something in regards to that.
No, you can ask a question.
Yeah, so my last question is, what happens next? Will there be another deadline? And if so, will another shutdown occur?
I think that people have to understand that the Democrat Party has sort of shifted their position as time has gone on. Mm-hmm. Under the Obama administration, there was almost 3 million deportations. And in 2006, Hillary Clinton and other Democrat senators approved a huge spending increase to militarize in a way, but to up in the security on the border wall. They approved tighter restrictions around California and New Mexico, different things like that. So I think that people have to, remove this idea that the Democrat Party is the savior for a lot of things. And now they have to remember that the Democrat Party will and can compromise. Mm-hmm. So I really hope they don't. I really hope that Schumer and Pelosi sort of stand their ground on DACA and SHIP. It is going to expire in March, whether they do anything about it or not. Whether or not Trump wants to let it expire, I'm not even sure that's even in his best interest. He could just sit back. But I just think that if the combined outrage of the Democrats letting CHIP and DACA expire, plus Trump's, sort of, what's the word where you're like a bystander and don't do anything about it? Compliance? Yeah. Trump's compliance with both of their expires. I just think that the combined outrage will create so much chaos in America that it doesn't look good for both parties. Whether or not you think it looks like I don't think the Democrats are going to win the midterms. I mean the Republicans. I don't think the Republicans are going to win the midterms anyway. But I think that if they sort of don't do anything about the outrage that will come from the cancellation of DACA and SHIP, they have a worse chance of winning the midterms. Mm-hmm. And then the Democrats have a worse chance as well by not doing anything and just being like, let's delay the debate. Sorry, guys, let's reopen the government. Haha, look, we're good. We reopened the government. That's not how it works.
Yeah, the Republicans need to be quick about it before they lose their seats. Yeah. Because there's so many people that are against Trump right now. So
there are a lot of Republicans not contesting for their seat again.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So
Sorry, I'm just trying to fact check myself here. I was about to say something, but I
Yeah,
didn't
since
want
there is a
to,
reality of like Trump having a one term,
Mhm.
like just because of pure hatred for the man, but whatever. It's
I think that he will have a one term, but the Democrats need a good leader to guarantee it.
So you don't
'Cause
think you don't think he'll be reelected?
If the Democrats don't find a good leader, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
If they do, no.
Has there ever been in history where it's like been where a president serves a term and then like a new president serves like the second term? Like I guess like from the same party.
Well,
Like that's not,
JFK.
but not in the point where like a new
Uh,
president is elected just because they died or because of some
Well-
X reason like that.
Jimmy Carter ran one term,
Yeah.
and then during the primaries for his reelection, he like didn't win by very much.
So then they lost confidence.
So they lost confidence in Carter, and then Ronald Reagan wiped the floor with him.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, he was running for his second term anyway, so he wouldn't have been able to run again.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, but there was like the convention for his second term.
Oh, I see.
And he didn't win by a lot of delegates
Oh,
in his
I
second
gotcha.
term.
I
Because
gotcha.
like there usually
Yeah.
is a convention, but
Yeah.
if they have trust in the thing, then it's sort of a
Oh,
ceremonial
yes.
thing.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But he didn't win by a lot, and then in 1980 they called the election for the Republicans even before California was
Yeah.
called. So to think about
Yeah.
that now is insane.
sweep.
Yeah, no, Ronald Reagan wiped the floor with him.
He did, and
So-
then even more with Walter Mondale, who only won.
Okay, I would wipe the floor with Walter
He
Mondale.
only
like,
got 3.
he
electoral
won Minnesota. That's it.
votes. And DC.
Is that a state?
Well, DC, yeah.
Okay.
It was
That's nothing then.
Wisconsin and
Wisconsin.
and DC.
Sorry.
Yeah. So 3 electoral votes in total. I believe might have been more. Anyway,
I think it was 13.
it might have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what I think is going to happen going forward is that the government will shut down again.
For how long?
That's tough to say. I predicted 3 weeks for this one, so I was way off the
Wow.
mark there.
It was like what, like 4 days?
It was less than
Yeah.
3.
So I don't know. We'll see. It depends, but probably I'm gonna guess a week. And then going forward to the midterms, it looks really good for the Republicans Senate-wise, less so House of Representatives-wise. I mean, there's a lot of Democrat seats up
And-
being contested for the Senate.
And for our viewers, can you explain the difference between the Senate and
Yeah,
the
so
House?
it's just like in Canada how we've got our Parliament and our Senate. So we've got in the States it's a bit less of a distinction. Essentially, House passes bills first, and then it goes to the Senate. There's no difference in powers necessarily. There's no not too much of a distinction. It's just the idea is that the Senate is made up of people who are a bit more like experienced,
And there's 2 senators
Yeah,
from
well,
every state.
and 2 senators from every
No
state.
matter how
Yeah.
big.
While Congress it would be more for the person that the
district.
people are actually
Yeah.
like, they're representative of the state.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the House of Representatives represent the people, the senators represent the states. And so
That's a nice way to put it. Yeah.
the Senate is going to become more Republican, is my guess. There's a lot more Democratic seats up for being contested in the Senate. I think it's 24-8, and a lot of those Democratic seats are in battlegrounds. The House, it's a bit more evenly split.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm disappointed in the Democrats that they let this opportunity get away, but I'm hoping that they win both the House and the Senate in the midterms and then pick a good, progressive, relatable leader. Cory Booker, 2020, that's my guess. So I'm hopeful for the Democrats, and I think the Republicans should be a little weary.
And until that happens, we just have to wait and see.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
United
we'll-
States is still screwed though. So
We'll
alright.
definitely keep you guys updated on our show. But that is it for this week. Thank you to everyone that tuned in, and thank you to everyone that messaged us live. We love hearing your differing opinions, regardless of what side you're on. We have a brand new episode of the Raben Report next week, same day, same time, same people. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.